Argument in favour of reducing greenhouse gas emissions such as to compromise the economy and society is based on very precarious information indeed.
It is too early to make multi-billion-dollar decisions about this country when we have insufficient evidence.
Greenhouse is one of the greatest abuses of scientific process that I've ever seen in 45 years of science. The things that have happened, the early forecasts were exaggerated. The revised numbers are not being promoted nearly as strongly.
We're being very unjustly implicated in something that we didn't do.
I think this is part of the trouble, that the general public sees it through 1997 eyes, whereas it was so different then. That's 50 years ago.
Theirs were voices rarely heard during the anguished and angry debate on the Human Rights Commissioner's Stolen Children report. Adoptive parents, missionaries and bureaucrats involved in the discredited policies of forced separation and assimilation of Aboriginal children into white society spoke about their largely unacknowledged feelings as they dealt with public scrutiny and bitter criticism of their roles.
We were there purely and simply to save lives and protect people, not to do anything else.
I never got to tell my mum I love her. And I never got to hear that she loved me.
Helen Dalley found many children adopted or stolen from their families during the assimilation policy decades felt cheated of their cultural birthright. But others, like Stuart McFarlane, who sought out his birth mother, have another view.
I'm very happy with the way I've been raised, and I'll be certainly raising my children in the same way, but I'll certainly be giving them the Aboriginal cultural side of it as well. I guess I've got two families now. I'm happy about that.
We're in the heart of the Kimberley in Western Australia with rock art historian Graham Walsh.
Paul Ransley with the amateur archaeologist whose 20-year obsession with these rock paintings called Bradshaws stimulates passionate debate about scientific integrity, veiled racism and land rights.
Possibly it's something that's developed in possibly Asia or somewhere through that area there.
Graham Walsh's explosive theory is that the artists were not direct ancestors of today's Aborigines, but instead were from an unknown Asiatic race.
We're so close to the Indonesian islands. We know all about the sea levels and everything like that. Why wouldn't people get here? Why is it such a stigma that we think there can only be one sort of group of people here since the beginning of time?
Walsh claims that a political, not scientific, campaign to win acceptance for Aboriginal ownership of the Bradshaws may result in them being closed off to researchers forever.
It's not possible for Graham Walsh's theory to be proved correct. It is simply not possible, because it can only ever be speculation.
And to the archaeology establishment, he's a maverick, to be snubbed for fear his work may be used to deny Aborigines a significant part of their heritage. In February, the crucial unresolved issue was still, when were the Bradshaws painted? Graham Walsh believed it was more than 20,000 years ago, insisting the creators were direct descendants of contemporary Aborigines. His opponent said less than 4,000. But in June, La Trobe University scientists dated a fossilized wasp's nest found on a Bradshaw as about 17,500 years old, giving credence to Walsh's theory that the painting under it was created before the last ice age.
It was a politically driven, and still remains a politically driven, strategy to make ordinary Australians feel good about doing something for the environment. The reality is that a lot of the material that people take time to separate from their waste stream is still ending up in the landfill.
Yes, you put the tickets in because they're paper as well.
The kitchen ritual, many fondly believe, helps save the planet, or, as we're so often told, save landfill sites, raw materials and energy. But Paul Ransley's investigation into the economics of curbside recycling found the feel-good sloganeering is at best half-truths, at worst downright lies. And that carries a hidden cost local councils usually don't publicise. Some authorities are now considering abandoning it, while others press ahead regardless.
The textbook example of how costly it can be comes from Roebourne in Western Australia. Its citizens trucked 30 tonnes of glass 1,600 kilometres to Perth. The glass earned $1,300. The trip cost $7,000.
Recycling businesses, successful over the last 5 to 10 years, have produced a glut of reusable material. Prices paid by manufacturers have fallen to the point it's often no longer viable to sort and process.
Recycling's advocates need a reality check. Basic issues about why and how we recycle still need to be addressed. And just as important, who bears the cost?
And next we'll update our stories on Diamond Joe Gutnick and historian David Irving and look back at the death of Princess Diana, which can be a hard taskmaster. And this year it's been our sad duty to break the news of the tragedy of Princess Diana and to find reasons for the disaster at Thredbo.
There was this roar that was just like an express train or a jet fighter going low and quickly overhead.
Do you believe there are any survivors?
Well, we're not sure. We're not sure at this stage. We are going to put some equipment in. And we do hold some hopes that there may be survivors.
The New South Wales Fire Brigade officers called out and stated, "This is New South Wales Fire Brigade Rescue, can anybody hear me?" The words came back, "I can hear you." They were the first words that we had.
The prayers of a nation finally answered.
Yeah, there's the chair going up. They've suddenly realised around here, they know that it's out. There are people up there on that hill raising their arms.
Stuart Diver, pulled alive from the rubble of the Thredbo landslide, a miraculous story of bravery and survival.
The best thing for us to do at the moment is to try and tunnel in to where the bedrooms were and where the people would have been.
As the rescue unfolded, we broadcast a program from the hillside overlooking the 2 devastated ski lodges, where 18 people died. Ross Coulthard also went looking for answers to a dreadful question. Could this have been prevented?
His name is Steve Zalosky. The story he has to reveal is appalling, because he and others have warned for over 30 years that this disaster was inevitable.
Were crucial warnings ignored? Had commercial pressures led to overdevelopment of a dangerous slope? The evidence uncovered by Sunday will be considered by a coronial inquiry due to start taking evidence next year. August the 31st. A car carrying a princess crashes in a Paris tunnel. The news breaks while we're on air. And some news just to hand. Reports from London say that Princess Diana has been seriously injured in a car accident in Paris. Sunday viewers are the first to learn of the tragedy that will transfix the world.
Diana, Princess of Wales, is dead.
We give thanks for the life of a woman. I'm so proud to be able to call my sister the unique, the complex, the extraordinary and irreplaceable Diana, whose beauty, both internal and external, will never be extinguished from our minds.
Welcome to Sunday, coming to you today from Great Britain, where it seems only a miracle can now save John Major and his Conservative government. John Major's general election miracle did not happen. Labour swept into power 4 days later. The Conservatives, already wounded by internal dissent and allegations of sleaze.
Talk of a new sleaze merchant and other Tory MPs under pressure to quit.
Have you anything to say about the allegations?
No, I'm not making any comment at the moment.
Behind all this, Sunday found signs of an unexpected change in Britain.
People call you a scoundrel.
Well, I don't dispute their judgment. I mean, everyone is entitled to make their own assessment.
We profiled former Conservative Defence Minister Alan Clark and his attempt to win a parliamentary seat. Though married, the personal diaries he published revealed a 14-year affair with the wife of a judge and her 2 daughters. He even admitted to finding Margaret Thatcher sexually attractive.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Gone, it seems, the days when a whiff of sexual impropriety would kill a British politician's career. With a bit of charm, Clark used his reputation as a philanderer as a positive asset.
I think that if he behaves, which we presume he will, he should be very good, because he is a good man.
What do you mean, if he behaves?
You know exactly what I mean, and so does everybody else.
I said, I'm completely changed character. And at a prison meeting about a while ago, and the whole audience said, no, don't, no.
Alan Clark won the safe seat of Kensington and Chelsea with a majority twice that of his nearest rival. As the sun rises here on July the 1st, the world's biggest party will become the world's biggest hangover. 6 months ago, as Britain prepared to hand Hong Kong back to China, Sunday examined the arguments raging over the threat that a corrupt, bureaucratic, communist government posed to democracy, human rights, and the colony's vibrant economy.
I think some leaders of the business community could have been a little stouter in their defense of the rule of law.
He's not Chinese, and I think what I think is more likely to be right than a foreigner from many, many thousands of miles away.
Today, Hong Kong is hurting, gripped ever tighter by recession. The cause? Not China or communism, but capitalism itself. Hong Kong is caught in the meltdown of the Asian tiger economies.
We wanted to gauge whether this much reviled man and his unpalatable utterings pose a real threat to Australian society.
February, Helen Daly on a book-selling tour of America with controversial British historian David Irving, a man apparently so dangerous he's banned from entering Australia.
The gas chamber they show the tourists in Auschwitz today is a fake.
Irving is free to enter America whenever he likes, to say whatever he wants. Canberra's refusal to grant him an entry visa is strongly supported by Jewish groups, opposed by civil libertarians.
It's just absurd when we can see them on television but can't see them in the flesh. Australians are really being treated by their government like little kids.
I see this man as fomenting hatred, as inciting hatred, and as causing divisions amongst Australians.
For those who support Irving's ban, our story may have provided food for thought.
This turned out to be a colossal non-event. Irving attracted tiny audiences. In one city, only 10 people. In short, Americans exercised their good judgment and ignored Irving, depriving him of the excuse that people really wanted to hear him but weren't allowed to. It seems only the Australian government and a few others keep playing into his hands.
But Irving is still banned from Australia. In the volatile West Bank city of Hebron, they see Melbourne millionaire Joe Gutnick as either a hero or villain. Gutnick wants to use his own money to help rebuild the Jewish enclave, a highly controversial proposal, to double the number of settlers that can live there. He believes their future has been traded away to satisfy the city's Arab majority.
He doesn't live in the country. And it's not an issue just, to be right and wrong. It's also an issue of peace and war.
is a good friend, a wonderful human being, great businessman, and a great Jew.
I think that such a guy should be considered as a criminal. What is he doing? He is destroying the peace process.
His plan delights religious right-wingers, but Arabs, even other Jews, fear it will increase the tension in this already troubled city.
They may feel that every brick that's put up in Jewish settlements is provocative, but there's certain things where, you know, we're not going to take any notice of what they say because we have our rights just as they have their rights.
10 months after we filmed this, Joe Gutnick and his supporters are waiting to finish the houses. The Israeli government still won't give him permission to build. Back home, 1997 comes to a close with Australia looking for answers to several major problems. Sunday has long scratched the surface of our national complacency, but this year, much of what we found underneath was nothing short of national disgrace. In the workplace and the food industry, we found standards so lax they were often fatal. And we revealed an apparent cover-up of police violence and rape in a country town. And in politics, our own Laurie Oakes revealed the Travel Rorts affair, further damaging a parliament already losing respect, especially in the Senate.
The legislation, as printed, will require amendment, substantial amendment, before it passes this chamber.
Look out for your backyards, because here come the Aboriginal people. What nonsense.
All those attacks on the government during the Senate debate of the WIC bill probably means the chamber stays well and truly crossed off John Howard's list of his favourite places for 97. But even earlier in the year, Paul Ransley found friends of the Senate were few and far between.
Division is required. Ring the bells, please.
I think it's a joke. I think the checks and balances that have developed in the Senate are crazy.
It's just a group of people who pretty largely waste public money.
The Senate at times becomes an anarchistic swamp with just no redeemable features.
Checking out the passengers on this gravy train, Paul Ransley found the senators' salaries, staff and administration mean each of them costs the taxpayer some $1.5 million.
And there's nobody checking to ensure senators aren't misusing this money. Claims are all based on an honour system.
That was in March. In October, Paul Ransley was back in Canberra. The story this time, that honour system, and the politicians alleged to have rorted it.
It erupted a fortnight ago, a fire scorching first the government, then engulfing the entire parliament.
A fire lit by our own Laurie Oakes and fuelled by leaked documents.
But I tell you what, if your resignation is not in the Prime Minister's hands by the time Monday comes along, we will have more of these claims because it does not stop here.
The scandal claimed the scalps of 3 ministers and a clutch of advisers. The most prominent among them, John Howard's closest friend and counsellor, who ironically gave his only interview to Laurie Oakes.
Did you take the fall to save the Prime Minister?
No, that really is wrong. The minute my name mentioned, I had to go.
The whole debacle ended in a ceasefire after the attempted suicide of Labor Senator Nick Sherry. Canberra in '98? Well, new accounting procedures for claiming allowances will, we're told, make it a far more honest place. We'll be back to check, because neither side seems keen to poke through the embers.
Pity the poor customers who are served this meat. At footpath temperatures, the bacteria on it are multiplying at a lightning rate and turning this food into a serious health hazard.
For those who complain about too much government regulation in our lives, Paul Ransley found in the food industry there's maybe too little.
The temperature gauge on this truck clearly showed meat stored at double the temperature it should have been.
It's estimated there are some 2 million food poisoning cases a year. The cost to the community, anything between $1 and $2 billion.
the line between a safe food supply and a seriously dangerous food supply appears to be very thin. And it would suggest to me that there are people walking that thin line right at the moment.
Scientific analysis of chicken mince and minced meat in Sydney and Brisbane showed most contained fecal matter and deadly bacteria. Since our story, federal and state governments have launched major initiatives to reduce the high levels of poisoning outbreaks. Victoria is developing an industry education campaign and has set up an Office of Food Safety.
A rescue team works quickly to free a construction worker, 28-year-old Justin O'Connor, from the bottom of a 6-metre deep hole.
From a year of our cover stories, few images left such a lingering sense of horror and futility.
This should have been a straightforward and relatively simple rescue operation.
Trapped and injured, Justin O'Connor is calling for help. On the Melbourne building site, way above him, ambulancemen and fire officers argue about which recovery technique to try. Water starts leaking into the shaft, but the rescue squad doesn't have the proper pump to drain it or breathing gear to save him.
Just over an hour after falling into the hole, Justin was drowning. The rescue team was gripped by a sense of dread. Justin was dragged from the hole unconscious and near death. Efforts to revive him failed.
He died in hospital 5 days later.
It's like he died about 3 times. He died because that shouldn't have happened, then he died because that shouldn't have happened, then it just went on and on. The guy just should not have died. About, you know, ridiculous.
Sunday examined why Australia's workplace safety record is among the world's worst. We found a culture of entrenched indifference, basic procedures ignored, safety equipment not installed, reasons why workplace injuries and illnesses cost $27 billion and kill 3,000 people a year.
There are far too many people dying, and just about every one of the workplace deaths are preventable deaths.
Since our story, charges of failing to keep a safe workplace have been laid against the major contractor of the Melbourne City Link project, Transfield Obayashi, and the subcontractor National Pile.
He put his arm around me and he started rubbing my side and he started touching the underneath of my breast.
He masturbated in front of me.
Maryborough, a West Victorian country town with a disturbing secret. Sunday investigated allegations that local police officers had been sexually assaulting women and young girls. Some of their 14 victims believed the full extent of their complaints was being covered up.
Until now, few details of the case have emerged. The police have been keen to minimise the damage, and the women feared retribution from their attackers. Today, however, some of them and their supporters talk for the first time.
We heard harrowing stories of violence and intimidation stretching back 6 years. A woman raped on a roadside late one night, an assault on a 12-year-old, homes broken into, death threats, stalking. And the result of an 18-month official inquiry, 2 sacked, 2 resigned, and 7 disciplined. But no one was charged.
Rape's a crime. Beating someone up is a crime.
This week, Victoria's Deputy Ombudsman released a damning report into 50 allegations against 12 officers. He criticised their behaviour and police management, but found the police's own inquiry was satisfactory. All officers involved have been moved from the town. None are to be charged. Some of the stories we brought you this year, the producer, Nick Farrow. And we'll return with more of Sunday in a moment.
you.